Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It is a pleasure to welcome you to Johns Hopkins, to the School of Education, and to our master's degree in counseling. My name is James McCarty. I am the Associate Director of Admission here at the School of Education. I've been with Johns Hopkins for a little over a year now, and I am on the admissions side. I am the point person, if you will, for our counseling program. So I look forward to sharing more information with all of you today. But also, if we haven't already, working with you through the admissions and application process, and assisting you to becoming a student here at the School of Education. Sorry, too many screens to control. As we jump in today, just to share a brief agenda, you're going to be hearing from many of us. Myself talking about the admissions process, some of my colleagues that are faculty members in the program talking, again, more specifically about the program. And then we also have some current students that will speak to all of you today to share their perspective as well. We'll talk again about admissions, financial aid, and we will have a brief moment at the end for some open Q&A. I see that some of you have already started utilizing the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to do that as we progress through today. We will hold all the questions until the end, but if anything comes to mind as we're chatting today, please don't hesitate to put your question in the Q&A, and I'll be moderating that Q&A at the conclusion of our presentation. So I'll make sure that we have at least 10 to 15 minutes to be able to answer some questions as we progress through today. Just to kick things off, a brief overview of the School of Education. We are one of 10 schools in total at the Johns Hopkins University. And the university itself as a whole has been offering courses in education and counseling for more than 115 years. That history is really deeply rooted in our faculty, the research that we're conducting. There's a real pride and passion for the work that we're doing here at the School of Education. And I think that impacts all of you as students, not only during your time in our program as a student, but even after you've graduated and moved on. We're very proud that for this past year, the School of Education at Hopkins was ranked the 13th best school of education in the country by U.S. News and World Report. And as you can see on the screen, there's just some fast facts and information to kind of give you an overview of the landscape. One thing that we're very proud of is just, again, the dedication to research that we display and how that's impacting the experiences that you'll have in the classroom, but also the connections that you'll have both with your fellow classmates, your instructors, and even progressing on through your experiences in internship and practicum within this program. I will share a very, very quick introduction of some of my colleagues. Sorry, everyone, too many screens to navigate through. So we have three of my colleagues that are faculty members here with us today. Dr. Yiying Xiang is an associate professor in counseling and educational studies. She joined the School of Education in 2018. She graduated from Ohio University with a degree in counseling, education, and supervision. Also, Dr. Justin Lauka is an assistant professor in the counseling program, holding a PhD in counseling, education, and supervision from Old Dominion University. His research focuses on counseling supervision, clinical training, and professional and educational standards. And also Dr. Isaac Burt, who's an associate professor. He received his PhD in counseling education from the University of Central Florida. With 20 years of experience in schools, mental health agencies, and community centers, Dr. Burt's research interests lie in integrating scientific principles within Africana counseling. Thank you again to my faculty colleagues for being here with us today. And for our student presenters with us, I will introduce you at a little on later in today's program. So faculty, whomever is jumping in, please feel free to take it away. And thank you again, everyone, for being here with us today.
All right, so I want to say welcome to everyone. I can't see you all, but I can see the numbers, so I'm very excited to have so many people here. So I'll try to keep it brief. If you get into the program and you ever take a class with me, you can understand that I can talk a lot. So I'm going to try to keep it brief here. So just to be succinct, there's two specialty areas that we have here, which I assume that you already know, which is school counseling and clinical mental health counseling. And we're going to talk just a tad a bit about how they're different and the different locations and when individuals graduate, where they go to be. Now, we are right now at the Education Building, which is on the Homewood campus, but we will be moving just briefly because there's going to be some renovation done to the School of Education. So we will be briefly at the Mount Washington campus for about a year or two. So that's just something to take into consideration. There should be transportation and things of that nature in case individuals don't have transportation or a car. So can you go to the next slide, please? Now, I know this is what you all want to know, the mission statement. What do we really harbor here that's really important here? And I don't want to, of course, I assume everybody can read well, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the aspects of this mission statement. We do take it seriously. And one of the things that we really want to do in the program, and we want to really push forward, is having socially just school counselors and clinical mental health counselors. One of the things that we can look at in today's society is looking at historically disenfranchised and marginalized populations, but looking at the amount of individuals within these systems that really need counselors who aren't looking something from a unilateral direction. And so one of the things that we talk about in class and is reiterated throughout the class is having a sound, culturally responsive framework. That would also include understanding neurodiversity, understanding gender aspects, ethnic and racial. And so one of the things that we really promote in this program is that it's where the world kind of meets one another. You have individuals from different countries, you have individuals from different socioeconomic status, you have individuals from just all over the place. And sometimes it's difficult to really understand another culture. And that's really what we want individuals to have, to really understand that it's just not how you perceive things, but how everyone can look at it and what do you find yourself within that framework. So can you go to the next slide, please, James? And so now we're going to talk just a tad because believe me, I can talk a lot here, but we're going to talk just a tad about the different classes that you may be taking if you're allowed or entry admission into the program. So can you go to the next slide, please? All right, so what we have here on the screen on the left-hand side is for those that want to go into clinical mental health counseling. You can see there's year one, and this is for full-time, year one, year two, and year three. And so you see in the first semester, the fall semester, individuals will take human development and counseling theory and practice. These are very fundamental courses. I look at human development and I'll say it's from the womb to the tomb. You understand what goes on developmentally as for an infant to an geriatric population. And theories gives you the foundation on how to apply theoretical frameworks into working with your clients. And that's for clinical mental health and school counseling, as you can see. And then there's counseling techniques in which you learn the basic fundamentals on how to work and have the therapeutic relationship with clients. So it's the foundational courses. Now, you may notice here that there's introduction to clinical mental health for clinical mental health counselors, and it deviates somewhat for school counseling. And so as you see, so a lot of the classes are similar, except for some of those critical courses that really give what that idea is for that specific discipline here. So we have a school counseling, foundations of school counseling, clearly. And then in the second part of the first year, you see the things are pretty correlating and corresponding here. So you have diversity for both. You have diagnosis and in counseling, which I would say for school counseling is very fundamental of getting a sound understanding of individuals who may have some clinical mental health issues. Because I always say people who have mental health issues just didn't appear out of thin air, but they most of the time came from a school. So if a school counselor is able to see these, then it's a really beneficial and behooves society as a whole. And as you see here, still in the first year, career development, And then it changes somewhat. For clinical mental health, we have psychopathology, and for school counseling, we have counseling adolescents, which I am teaching next semester. So if you are allowed entry into the program, I may be teaching you in that course. And then the second year, we have group counseling for all. We have CBT, and we have ethics and legal. And then everyone has couple and family. And then in the second part of the second year, we have the practicum, where we start getting into the experiential courses in which you really get the hands-on that we'll talk about at much depth later. That's when you actually get to work and see clients. And you also have, for the clinical mental health and for school counseling, we have addiction and appraisal, but we also have for the clinical mental health an elective, which we'll talk about what are those. And then when year 3, where you're rounding out the time there, we have the internship here for both, and we have research and evaluation for counselors. And then the third year, when you're wrapping things up and going to go out there in the world and take on all your clients, we have the internship, and we also have an elective. And for school counselors, you get to work and understand about children with exceptionalities, which is special education. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, this is very similar to the same, but this is now looking at part-time. And so you will be in a cohort model, but we understand that there could be individuals that can't be full-time because they have other responsibilities. And so I won't, I know I can talk a lot, but I won't necessarily go over these because these are very similar, but it's breaking it down for individuals who can, instead of 4 classes, can only take 2 classes. Now, I do want to say because I believe my time is up, and I'll pass it up to my colleagues here. I do want to say that we're looking at this as not having summer. So it is something to take into consideration. We may have summer classes later on, and Dr. Laka and Dr. Sean, correct me if I'm, misspoken here, but I think at the time we don't have as many summer classes, so it is something just to take into consideration. So with that, I believe I'm going to pass it off to my colleagues here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Burt. If I can actually interject, we've gotten quite a few questions. So as far as the timeline of courses, is there any way to complete the program in 2 years? Everybody can see that it's done in 3 years. Is there any way to expedite that process, or is 3 years the quickest that a student can progress through the program as a full-time student?
Yeah, I will let Dr. Laka and Dr. Sean expand on that, but from my understanding, with the not having the surplus of summer courses, that the quickest is 3 years. Now, if we open up with summer courses, there could be the possibility of graduating in 2 years. I say 2 years and some change. But right now, we're still working out those things with the summer courses. So 3 years is more than likely the quickest that it's going to be. Like I said, of course, things can change. One thing as a counselor, you have to learn to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so if we do have summer courses, then it would be a little bit faster. But right now, I would say that's the quickest, unless my colleagues have additional information that I'm not privy to.
The only thing I will add is that currently, as it stands, it's 3 years is the shortest time you can complete, and that was an intentional change that was made a few years ago by the faculty, because we really wanted to give fuller attention to the students' developmental experience in the program and not rush through, because and even in the 3-year track, you may be taking 4 classes at a time, and it's a lot to integrate and assimilate. And we don't want to rush students, because this is a really, in some ways, high stakes degree. The level of responsibility that you hold once you leave this program is really high. And so we want to ensure that we are providing students that come into this program with the best education possible.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, but for clinic mental health, there's, I agree with Dr. Lauka and Dr. Burt. A 3-year program is what we offer right now, but for school counseling program students, not programs, school counseling track students, we currently have reset programs, which is a little bit quicker program because it is the same. We take the same courses, but the internship will be a little bit different, which I can talk a little bit more later. And then for this slide, you will also see, you may notice in the sequence, there are some electives. So those are some of the electives we offer currently. So you may choose 2 of those electives for your own course sequence, and it may look differently each year, but those are most electives we're offering right now. Oh, by the way, I'm Dr. Xiang, and thanks, James, for your nice introduction. And I teach counseling theories, human development, so a lot of the intro courses. And if you get into the program, you may know me at your first semester. Can you go to the next slide? So this is the reset program that I'm talking about. So Dr. Anita Yang and Dr. Norma Devines, they got the huge grant from the U.S. Department of Education to support this initiative. So reset means to recruit. The purpose of the reset program is to recruit students from underrepresented population and to train them as qualified school counselors to serve the underserved areas. And also we offer training to current school counselors to help them to better serve their population, their students, and their areas. So as you may notice that it's actually a 2-year plan. So you will be able to take some of the courses over the summer. And then for your internship, instead of spreading the internships into semesters, the reset students will do their internships in 1 semester. And the special part of the internship is that they will do internship out of state. So currently we have 3 collaborated school district, and they work at different areas. So currently at Suffolk, Virginia, which represents the rural place, and then Richardson, Texas, which is a suburban area, and then Atlanta, Georgia, which stands for the urban area of school districts. So those are current 3 districts that we work with. So when you do your internship, if you were the research students, when you are doing internship, you will be assigned to one of those areas to do your internship. And can you move to the next slide? Thank you. Yeah, so again, the reset initiative is to create a sustainable and systematic pipeline to educate and hire highly qualified school counselors to address mental health issues in high needs LEAs across 3 identified urban, suburban, and rural public school districts. And we also want to create a systemic pathway to train current school counselor practitioners to address mental health needs of pre-K to 12 students. Can you move on to the next slide? And then we have a couple priorities. So the top 2 priorities, the first one, we want to recruit diverse background students, especially we want to have some HBCU recruitments. We have collaborated with HBCUs to have more students, join us, hopefully. And then the second priority is to provide evidence-based pedagogical practices. Okay, move on to the next. Yeah, so for the research students, we will cover your 50% tuition, and they will also provide you a laptop, and then we will also offer the internship cost of living. And then during your orientation, other than the typical school counseling students orientation, we also offer mental health enrichment orientations. So that could include some materials about broaching or some other materials. And the internship placement, talk about. So you will be placed into those three different places, depends on their needs at that point. And can you move on to the next slide? And then this program is also integrate a lot of technology. We will use WellCheck to measure students' progress regarding their mental health status. And then we'll have a lot of professional developmental opportunities for the school counseling students, as well as the current school counselors serve at those districts. So we offered broaching model. We also train the school counselor leadership. We also offer some professional development through the American School Counselor Association as well. I think that's pretty much from me. So I'll pass on to Dr. Lauka.
Thank you, Dr. Shang. As Dr. Bird, I think, touched on earlier with regard to the course sequencing, the clinical experiences is really accomplished at the tail end. Once students complete a minimum number of courses, this is really considered the capstone experience of the program. And these requirements align with our accreditation standards as well as licensure requirements. And so one of the things that you'll notice as we get into this, there's an important distinction between practicum and internship. And how this is structured is really developmentally sequenced, where in practicum, you are placed in an organization, whether it's a community mental health agency or a school setting, and you're doing the work. The workload though is relatively minimal compared to internship. So you start off with being required to complete 100 hours total throughout an entire semester. Of those, completing a minimum of 40 direct contact hours. And during practicum, I often say this is where nowhere else in this point in your professional career and never again will you have so many layers of supervision and so many layers of support. During practicum, you have your site supervisor that you engage in weekly individual or triadic supervision. You also have a faculty supervisor, and you'll be engaging in weekly individual supervision, as well as group supervision with your faculty. Sometimes at your sites, you'll also have group supervision. And so there are many layers of support. And as you progress through your field experiences, you obtain an increasing amount of autonomy and responsibility. So you always have a layer of support, but it gets less than once you proceed into internship. I think that's all I'm going to touch on in practicum. So with regard to internship in the school setting, the requirement is for 600 hours across, typically across 2 semesters. As Dr. Shang noted, with the reset program, it might be a unique situation where you might be able to do it complete after 1. But 600 hours, and those again match certification and licensure and accreditation requirements. So where you get placed in a school setting, in a K through 12 public school setting. And I believe unique to school and school counseling, you actually across between practicum and internship, you will be placed at least at 2 different school settings, because you want to have the full range of K through 12 experience. And so you'll have that opportunity. And so it's 600 hours total where you'll be engaging in school counseling activities. While you, at the same time, every week you'll be in group supervision, which is your internship class with the faculty supervisor, and still receiving individual supervision from your site. I think you can go to the next slide. Similarly, with clinical mental health counseling internship, the minimum requirement of hours is the same, 600 hours across 2 semesters, a total of 6 credits in a clinical setting. And again, you'll be engaging in a wide range of clinical activities. And during this time, you'll be engaging in much more higher level of responsibility. It also may look like you'll be working with much more, maybe more challenging cases. And of course, this is all at the discretion of your supervisors as you learn to increase your level of competence and your level of confidence in yourself. Oftentimes we think that we see that students they have the skill set. It's just this level of confidence. Something is getting in the way of them being able to be fully engaged and present and apply. And so typically we see that once you're getting into internship, the level of confidence and self-efficacy and your ability increases as well. And so I think that's all I want to say about that slide as well. Certification and licensure. So as I mentioned, our program leads students to become eligible for certification and licensure. One of the benefits of our program is we have a partnership with the National Board for Certified Counselors. And so students can complete the National Counselor exam while they are still in their program. And one of the unique advantages of that is not only does this lead you to the credential and certification of a national counselor certification, but the NCE is very, very often used as the state licensure exam for a counseling license. And so to be able to have completed and passed that exam for state licensure before you even graduate is really fairly advantageous for our students. Other specialty certifications are also available, such as school counseling and clinical mental health counseling. And of course, our school counselors, they are eligible to become a school counselor, certified school counselor in Maryland. Next slide. Lastly, we do offer a graduate certificate program, and this is really much more specialized. For those that have already completed a master's degree and perhaps they have some deficiencies in courses to become licensed in Maryland, because not all states have the same requirements. Although I will say that is changing now with the counseling compact, which creates more portability across states. But this is often used for those that still need to meet some requirements, or maybe they completed a degree a while ago and they don't fully meet all the requirements. Maybe they need a couple extra courses, and so that would help supplement that. Where are our graduates employed? So our graduates are employed in a wide range of settings, and so of course, as you can see, many of them they may even be receive a job offer, be employed at their internship site. It's certainly not uncommon for sites to give a job offer to our interns. But these are the range of different places that you may find graduates. And of course, a lot of our graduates do go on to pursue a doctoral degree as well.
So regarding students' research opportunities, I see some question about it. Yeah, so our students do get a lot of opportunities to engage in research. So by joining our faculty, their research initiatives, or they may be RA in some other schools at Hopkins as well. So they have a lot of opportunities. And then doctoral study opportunities, a lot of our students, they go up to further study in doctoral programs. For example, Rachel, I know she is applying for a doctoral program right now, and then a lot of our students, other students, have been successfully being accepted by other doctoral programs. Can move to the next slide. Thank you. So I'm also the faculty advisor of Chi Sigma Iota. That is an international counseling honor society. So they have some requirements that you need to meet, and then you will receive an invitation to join these organizations. We offer a lot of fun activities and also a lot of support to students to adjust to graduate program, and also to have opportunities to hang out with their peers. We're basically trying to create a community for our students to make them to feel they belong here and they can connect with each other. They are being supported. And I think that's pretty much for me, and I'll pass on to Rachel.
Thank you, Dr. Shang. Hi, everyone. I am Rachel, and I am in the school counseling track here at Hopkins. There are many reasons that made me decide Hopkins to pursue my master's in counseling, but I just wanted to highlight some that were really important for me. So first is the distinguished faculty. So a lot of our faculty members are leaders in the field of counseling. So it's really cool to learn directly from faculty members who have written books and articles that are really informing the field of counseling. And then, as Dr. Shang mentioned, there's a lot of research opportunities. So if you're considering pursuing a doctorate, this is something that you might want to think about. And with the research opportunities, there's opportunities not only within the School of Education, but other schools that are housed within the Hopkins network. So I know some colleagues or peers that are currently on research teams that are housed under School of Medicine or School of Public Health, and the Hopkins network allows you to do that. And also I wanted to highlight the comprehensive curriculum for the school counseling concentration. Our program is 60 credits, meaning that you will have all of the coursework that you need, not just for school counseling certification, but if you wanted to pursue clinical mental health licensure, at least for the state of Maryland, the curriculum at our program will equip you to apply for licensure as well. And our curriculum isn't just evidence-based, but it is a good balance between evidence-based practices and practical knowledge. So you'll be equipped with the practical skills to go out into the field and practice as a counselor. And some of the program highlights that I wanted to mention is the diversity of our student body. And that's not just limited to the identities that the student body holds, but also the experiences. So you'll see that you'll get to engage in a lot of dialogue in the learning process and hearing from people that are folks that have gone through different experiences or hold different identities or are sometimes from different countries. So you get to really have very rich discussions. So that is something that I wanted to highlight about our program. And also the faculty support. I think without the support of the faculty, it would be hard to be very successful in a program that challenges you and is rigorous. Anytime I've reached out to faculty for support, I think I have always been helped and was welcome. So that has been very beneficial to have that. Additionally, I know Dr. Burt has talked about our mission statement earlier in the presentation, but I did want to highlight that the mission statement the advocacy and the social justice isn't just limited to our mission statement, but it's really integrated throughout our curriculum and every conversation that you're going to have as you move throughout the program. So I feel that it really prepares you to be an advocate as a counselor as you move on into the field. And lastly, the sense of community. So CSI is one way to feel that, but in addition to CSI initiatives, I will say that the community that you build with your classmates, not just within your cohort, but within the entire program is really helpful in helping you move through a program because everyone's going through the same process that you're going through and will also be the most understanding. And some advice that I have for prospective students is to ask for support when needed and take advantage of opportunities to learn and grow as a counselor and an individual. I think this has been my experience, and when I discuss with my classmates, I think the discussions that you have, what you're learning in classes, it's very self-reflective and introspective. So you're not only going to grow as a counselor, but you also grow as an individual, which in term will help you become a better counselor. So that is some of the advice that I have for prospective students. And I think I'm going to pass it on to James to share about his experiences.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Hi, everyone. My name is James. I'm in the clinical mental health counseling track here at Hopkins in my third and final year, having done it full time. It's a career change for me. I come from a career in criminal justice reform and kind of see myself as caring about liberation, and realize that a lot of what I care about is being there for people in a one-on-one way. And as the pandemic was unfolding, I, like many of us, wrestled with who I was and who I wanted to be, and realized I really wanted to be a counselor. So joined Hopkins in 2021. So I feel like I was very, very recently in your shoes, and feel moved to say thank you for considering this career. It's a really important one. And for me so far, an extremely rewarding process here at Hopkins with what I'm learning, as well as in my practicum and internship experiences. What made me choose the program was a number of things. The emphasis on multicultural and social justice issues in counseling was clearly telegraphed on the promotional materials, as well as has been my experience actually doing the course itself. The diverse faculty, so many different perspectives, so many different backgrounds. Honestly, the name recognition, convenience, and cost were factors that part of me felt like I shouldn't put in, because you're not supposed to talk about those things, but they were real for me. So, you know, vulnerability and honesty is a value of mine. So I wanted to put those in because they were certainly factors for me. Some highlights, the evaluations and feedback that you get in this program, if you're open to it and you can receive it, can really give you a better sense of who you are as a person, let alone as a counselor in training, areas for growth, strengths, things like that. I think I thought I knew who I was when I entered the program, and as Rachel indicated, there are so many opportunities for reflection and growth throughout the coursework, whether it's the feedback on assignments or in the seminar formats with your practicum and internship classes where you get supervision. You just have so many opportunities if you take them to learn about who you are, all with the idea of how you help other people. It's helped me approach myself more compassionately to learn about counseling and the things that people go through. You know, I'm not ashamed to say I've been in counseling myself a few times throughout my life, and coupling these strategies, not just with how I might treat current and future clients, but also how I think about myself, has been invaluable. And these field experiences have really been enriching, challenging, and rewarding. My advice to you all is that, first of all, know that you want to do this. It's a big investment, so have some certainty that you want to be a counselor. Didn't put that on the slide, but I think that's important. And then secondarily, it's not about perfection. I think, you know, here we are at a Hopkins webinar. We probably do well in school, so maybe we want to get the best grades possible. But really thinking about this as a chance to learn about ourselves so that we can know ourselves better in order to help future clients is really the goal. If we get A's in the process, that might be nice, but that's my advice to you all.
Thank you so much to both James and Rachel, as well as all of my faculty colleagues, for just sharing their experiences and overview of the program. Before we pivot and transition, I do want to make one announcement to everybody. There has been some, I'll say, program realignment at the School of Education, and I do just want to make it known that the postmaster certificate in clinical mental health clinical mental health counseling. That program has been closed, but that the certificate itself, I've worked with the faculty member who previously oversaw that, and we are working with students through a non-degree status opportunity to still be able to take those courses with us to progress on for licensure and certification. So if you already have a background in counseling and you would be interested in that specific type of postmaster certificate, please feel free to continue to reach out. Even though the program is not being offered, we're still happy to work with you, advise you, and help to point you in the right direction and assist. We will pivot ever so slightly, and I will transition and chat a little bit about the admissions process. I do want to do my best to answer some of the questions that have come in, specifically regarding the admissions information and timeline as we go through today. But one thing that I forgot to do when I started is just say congratulations, because all of you that are attending today, you have done probably the hardest part, and that's taking the first step. You're here today, you're finding out information, and my hope is that, you know, through our presentation, you feel excited and energized to continue moving forward. And you know, from that emotion that is hopefully invoked in all of you today, I would encourage you, as far as the next step is reaching out and getting even more connected. A great way to do that is to connect with me. I offer one-on-one appointments with prospective students. I usually have about 20 different appointments each week, and I'll be sending a follow-up email to all of you today to schedule an appointment with me if you would like, whether that's via phone or Zoom. So again, keep that motivation going after today, and let's chat and continue to progress forward. As far as the admission requirements, as you can see here on the screen, this kind of gives a breakdown of what you will submit within your application. Some other background information that I think is important to share. So our program has the KCREP accreditation, and that is a wonderful accomplishment for us and for our counseling program. But I share that because with the KCREP accreditation, there are some components that we must maintain. So our program has to be 60 credits. We have to maintain a 12 student to 1 faculty ratio. And because of that ratio, we only offer this program in a cohort fashion. So we only admit one time a year, and that's every fall semester. So again, I share that to kind of give you the background information as to why we only admit in the fall. And because of that, we have a very, I'll say, strict application window. So for this upcoming fall semester, fall 2024, the application opened back in September, but the important date to remember is January 5th. That is the date that you have to have a completed submitted application in by, January 5th. I have encouraged students to submit an application sooner if possible, especially with, if you're here in the US, many holidays coming up, and especially with turnaround time for submitting, getting letters of recommendation submitted or transcripts submitted. Sooner is better than later. So do not wait, don't delay, get your application in as soon as possible, but know that the firm deadline to submit your application is January 5th, 2024. Within the process, you'll complete an online application, essentially providing that background biographical information and some other questions that we'll ask you. There is an $80 application fee, and I did see questions in the chat about the application fee. Generally speaking, we do not waive the $80 application fee for prospective students. Know that we are able to waive that application fee if you have a specific affiliation. There are 5 groups that we are able to waive that fee for, and that includes if you are an AmeriCorps alumni, Gates Millennium Scholar, the McNair Scholars Program, a part of the National Name Exchange. You are or have served in the U.S. Armed Services or military, or you're a part of the U.S. Peace Corps. So one of those 5 groups we are able to waive the application fee for, but generally speaking, we do not waive that $80 application fee for prospective students. So do want to be transparent and upfront with that. You will submit official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions that you've attended. Again, all post-secondary institutions attended. So even if you didn't, if your coursework wasn't all finished at one institution, we will need all transcripts from all institutions. I stress that because especially sometimes students will wait till the application deadline, and then we see on a transcript that you had courses transfer from somewhere else, and then we ask you to get that submitted. So again, I stress that just to save you a headache down the road. Just be sure to submit all official transcripts. Those transcripts can be sent to us virtually. I think that's the ideal method. You can physically mail them, but virtual is by far the best option. I will stress, when you are sending us electronic documents, Johns Hopkins is a large institution, and we are large in many ways, both geographically, physically. We're all over the place. With the multitude of schools at Johns Hopkins, please be sure that your transcripts are being sent to the School of Education. You can also send them to, I believe in Parchment or eScript, there is an option for Johns Hopkins graduate studies or graduate admissions that will ultimately still get funneled to us. But ideally, if you can send it directly to the School of Education, that is what you want to do. Transcripts can be sent to other places, and it just sort of expedites the process if you make sure that they come directly to us. You'll submit an essay that is 2 to 3 pages in length. And you'll see that there are 4 questions that we'll ask you to answer within that essay. Essentially, tell us about your interest and why you're interested in this program and becoming a counselor. What are you hoping to gain? And just talking about your overall fit. So that is, again, 1 2 to 3 page essay that you'll submit. You'll also submit a copy of your resume or CV. 2 letters of recommendation. I can already hear the applause from all of you. There are no GREs required for this program. I know everybody's probably thrilled to hear that. I'll get the question, should I submit them if I took them? Know that we do not use those as a point of consideration in your evaluation. So please do not take the GRE. Do not feel required to submit the GRE because it is not used in the overall evaluation. And if selected, there is a structured group interview process that happens sort of as what I'll call a second phase of the admissions process. If selected for that group interview process, those dates will be scheduled at a later date. They normally take place between February and March, and those are done, historically have been done via Zoom. So just to get that on your radar as a future point to remember. For any students that have any international students or students that have an international educational background, we do ask students to submit some form of English proficiency, whether that's through the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. There is a waiver if you've completed 2 years of education in the U.S. I should say post-secondary education, 2 years of post-secondary education in the U.S. That requirement can be waived, but if not, you'll submit the IELTS or TOEFL, an IELTS or TOEFL score. Students that have transcripts from institutions outside of the U.S., we will ask for a course-by-course evaluation of those transcripts. The best resource to go to find out more information through the School of Education's website under admissions, there's a special tab just for international students, and we list all of the external third-party agencies that we use to evaluate your transcripts. I believe there's 7 online. The important piece, just make sure you select a course-by-course evaluation to have your degree and coursework evaluated and then sent to us. And as always, for any questions on anything that I've shared, please feel free to stay connected, ask questions, and follow up. I do think I saw another question that popped in about timeline. So walking you all through the timeline moving forward as far as admissions goes, remember, submit your application by January 5th. That is the firm cutoff date for the 2024 cohort. The first round of evaluations by our faculty review committees takes place generally within January to early February. The interviews have historically taken place between February and March, and final decisions are generally released sometime between, I'll say, the middle of March and early April. We do try to expedite that process each year, but just to give you a rough timeline of what to expect and when, figure that that's when final decisions will go out, early April at the very latest. Transitioning to the exciting stuff, the fun stuff to talk about, cost. So for in-person courses for the counseling program, all courses are in person. For the counseling program, the total cost of attendance is $1,100 per credit, or $3,300 for a 3-credit course. Again, as I mentioned, there's an $80 application fee, and then every semester there will also be a $175 registration fee that you'll pay every semester. As far as scholarships go, we do offer scholarships specifically for students in the counseling program. There is a limited number of merit and need-based scholarships that we award each semester. Please know, I did see another question. We do not offer, essentially a full ride scholarship for this program. It is a limited number of scholarships that we award, and not to sound pessimistic, but to be honest with you, generally speaking, the bulk of the cost of attendance does fall on the student. So again, I share that with you to be transparent and upfront, and just to set expectations for what's down the line as far as the cost of attendance. We do encourage students to look through external scholarships. There is a whole section of our website that lists a number of different agencies and opportunities for scholarships outside of the School of Education. But for that limited number of need-based scholarships within the School of Education, we do encourage all students to submit a FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, if you are able to do so, to be evaluated for any type of financial opportunities that we offer locally within the School of Education. I have talked for far too long. I'm excited now to transition and answer some questions from our students, from our audience. I am happy to go through and moderate. Let's see. I guess, well, first question I'll kind of start and answer can students receive the slides from today? Please note that we don't send out the PowerPoint slides from the presentation today, but we will be sending a recording of the full webinar to all students that registered for the event. So you will get that recording that usually is sent out, I'd say, within a week to 10 days after the program is completed. So even though we can't send you the slides, we will send you the recording to be able to review those at a later date at your leisure. Let's see, I'm gonna just throw a question out for my faculty colleagues. For a prospective student, what are points that stand out for a prospective student? Essentially, how can I stand out as an applicant? Are there ways that I can, make myself shine through this application process? I guess, are there points that you look at more in depth when you're reviewing an applicant? Do you have any tips for prospective students applying to the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, my colleagues can answer. I won't take too long. One of the things I would share, this was similar to what James had actually shared, is we really like when applicants can convey that there's a lot of intentionality and forethought in coming into making this decision to apply to this program. And so we can see that in a variety of ways, because a lot of students apply for the program having a certain level of GPA and accomplishments, but we're really looking for that level of intentionality. We're also looking dispositionally. The counseling field has increasing number of evidence regarding what are those types of attributes we're looking for in critical thinking, humility, ability to engage in self-awareness and reflection. So you'll learn a lot of that in the program, but we can see that, and those are the things that really stand out, at least to me.
Dr. Haka. Any other, I guess, points that anyone else would like to make? And if not, that's perfectly fine. We have plenty of questions to go through.
I would just mirror what Dr. Locke said. I just have this saying of just don't go through the program, let the program go through you. One of the things that Dr. Locke talked about was the idea of humility and understanding that we're all beginners on our journey. And even as professors, we still learn from the students. So if we as professors are still learning from the students, we expect our students to do the same thing. We all come in with knowledge, but understanding that we don't have the answer to everything, and being able to understand it and have this journey of self-awareness, which is sometimes more difficult than the academic journey, is something really to take into consideration. And having potential students who know that and can speak articulately about that, in my perspective, really makes them stand out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that perspective. It looks like we've gotten a lot of other questions about just, acceptance rate, and some other specifics about the application process. So just to share some quick figures with everybody. So last year for the cohort of 2023, we received a total application number of just under 560 total applications. And we had an admit rate of 23% for last year. So again, I'm sharing that as just general guidelines from this past year. The average GPA for last year's admitted students was a 3.67. Please note, again, these are not cutoffs by any means, but I share this with you just to kind of give you a point of reference as far as where the average student for this past year's cohort fell into play. So again, admit rate of 23%, and then the average GPA came in at 3.67, just to share some rough numbers with you. Let's see, are international students considered for the reset initiative?
I think I can help to answer the question. So we really want to have a lot of international students, but unfortunately will not be able to offer international students the reset program right now, because it is we cannot offer the stipend to international students according to the visa regulation. So that's like the only reason why we cannot offer reset to international students. So very unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know we are at time. We'll go through a few more questions here really quick just to make sure that we cover as much as possible. So going through, sadly, no, you cannot submit unofficial transcripts during the application process. We do need official transcripts submitted when you apply. Also, when you apply, you can only apply to one program at a time. So whether that's the Masters of Counseling in Clinical Mental Health Counseling or Masters of Counseling in School Counseling, know that you can only have one open application to the School of Education at a time, to share that. If a student has intentions to practice full-time in a different state other than Maryland after graduating, what would that process look like? Should they still apply to this program?
Yeah, and I appreciate that level of forethought. And so going back to the different licensure requirements that by state, one of the things to consider is, one, because of our K-CREP accreditation, many states do see us as eligible and see our programs just because of by virtue of that accreditation. Also, looking at the counseling compact, and so I would encourage you to search on the website either counselingcompact.org or look at the American Counseling Association's webpage. There are resources to show the different licensure requirements and who's in the compact. There are over 30 states, which means if you're licensed in Maryland, then essentially you can be licensed in those other states as well. And those number of states are growing. So, but there are some states that would require additional requirements. One off the top of my head is California. So I would just encourage you to look at the state licensure board and look at the American Counseling Association's webpage. But by far and large, you can leave our program and be eligible in most states.
Thank you, Dr. Lauka. Great question. Cost of attendance. The cost of attendance does not differ whether you're in state or out of state. That $1,100 per credit is the same for all students, regardless of where home is for you. Also for letters of recommendation, another great question. So ideally, I encourage students to submit at least one academic letter of recommendation, if possible, knowing that you're applying for a graduate program. Ideally, one academic letter of recommendation to be able to talk to your skill set as a student. And then also another professional letter is perfectly fine. I always stress to students, kidding but not kidding, this is not a time to be humble. In this application process, you want to have the best individuals that are going to recommend you write those letters of recommendation if possible. So again, ideally one academic, one professional letter is perfectly fine, but just have the best recommenders write those letters for you. And one final question here for my faculty colleagues. Do we need to select either the clinical track or the school counseling track at the onset, or is it possible to switch midway through the program if we discover that we're more interested in the other field?
Well, that is not unheard of. That is not something that we would recommend. We want students to be open to the process. But really, again, going back to that forethought, thinking through beforehand what you're applying to, because your essays, your application materials should reflect that. We look at similar elements, but different as well when you're applying to school counseling versus clinical mental health counseling program. That said, it's certainly not something we would unilaterally just ban or prohibit. I think Dr. Burt may have said, flexibility is key. Leap into and recognize the developmental process of students and what may come from that.
Thank you so much. Everyone, I apologize, but we are at time for today. Students, prospective students, thank you so much for being here with us. I would like to offer a huge thank you and appreciation to our current students and my faculty colleagues for being here with us today and presenting and sharing your expertise. Again, prospective students, please know this is just the first step. I will send a follow-up email. Please reach out, stay connected, ask questions. For anyone who asked questions that we couldn't get to, please feel free again to send us emails. I would love to keep these conversations going. Most importantly, know that you are never, ever going through this process alone. I hope that from today you can feel the strength of the community that we exude here at the School of Education, and we look forward to welcoming you back to future programs, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the near future. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll chat again really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.